Hey team, hope you all are doing well. Today's topic, I wanted to go over how to run a faster mile on a track. And I know a lot of you out there are trying to work on your speed. I know how difficult the 1600 meter, or if you're running the full mile, 1609 meters can actually be. And it takes time. It's a highly anaerobic event, as you all know. So you definitely have to work on your speed. You have to make sure that you are paying attention to your pacing in this event. I always, when I was competing in high school and in college, in the 1600 meter when I was in college, the 1600 meter in high school, and the 1500 meter event when I was in college, I would always try to aim to really make my attack once I hit the 800 meter point. A lot of athletes they go out far too aggressive in the first 400 meters of the race and really just blow up in the last three laps. So really, you just have to really be cognizant of how you're pacing yourself in the early stages of the mile if you're running a mile on the track. Definitely focus on building your endurance as well. Even though it's a highly anaerobic event, you definitely want to make sure that you're building your strength and your stamina, and that will come from doing faster long runs, as I talk about. It doesn't matter if you're training for the mile, 800 meter, or the marathon. Faster, varied pace long runs will take your miling capability and your ability to sustain your goal mile race pace to another level. Because again, if you're just running aerobic mileage for during those long runs, it's just going to make you extremely strong in terms of your endurance. But if you start mixing up the paces and you start spending some time training at VO2 max effort for a certain segment of your long run, running at anaerobic threshold effort, running around 85 to 89% of your max heart rate, doing, like I mentioned, that VO2 max section, it might be a few seconds to a few minutes, running at 95 to 100% of your max heart rate, and then dropping back down to easy, relaxed aerobic running, where you're running around 65 to 70% of your max heart rate. All of that will help you run faster on the track. The key tactic in running a fast mile is you must improve your body's lactate tolerance. You're not going to be able to do that by running easy and relaxed and just building easy aerobic base mileage for long periods of time. Yes, you still want to build that endurance and build that base, but you have to start developing your speed in order to do that. In terms of the time frame to prepare for a mile on the track, if you really want to do it right, is giving yourself anywhere from 12 to 16 weeks. The longer the races, the longer your build-ups. It certainly is not going to hurt you if you do a build-up of, say, 20 to 24 weeks. It's just dependent on how you set up your training first and foremost. You definitely want to spend, if you're doing a longer build-up, then you want to make sure that you don't get too anaerobically fit too soon, so that you get still and you kind of burn out and you start feeling stale. So you want to be very strategic in how you're setting up your training if you're doing a longer buildup. So if I had an athlete doing 16 to 24 weeks, I'd spend around a minimum of 4 to 6 weeks just running easy, relaxed mileage, just building aerobic fitness, building endurance, burning fat, not really doing any extremely fast speed sessions immediately, but then gradually, after we've built that strong base of aerobic mileage, then you start really working on race specific training, where you're really developing your leg speed, 200s, repeat 300s, repeat 600s, the real fast stuff, repeat 100s, 150s. Those types of workouts will help you to recruit more fast twitch muscle fibers. And the more of those you recruit, the more economical or efficient you're going to race when you run that mile. And again, some athletes that are in phenomenal shape will go out way too fast in that first 800 meter and really have a hard time. They go into oxygen jet and really struggle in the last two laps of the race. So it's very critical that you get out fast. You can get out in a mile, you can go out the first 200 meters pretty much in an all-out sprint and not build up any lactic acid. So keep that in mind. Get out aggressive and then settle into your pace. Do not try to run 10 seconds faster than goal race pace in the first lap of your race. Okay, keep it. Be smart about your race intensity in the early stages of the race. What I want you to do is to be a little bit more strategic, hold back, be somewhat conservative in the early stages of the race, the first lap and a half to 2 laps of the race. And then once you get to 800 meters, that's when you go all in. Okay, and every athlete's different. I would always make my tack 600 meters out from the end of the race, because most athletes will wait until there's one lap to go when they start to make their move. Don't wait until that time. Make your move, and once you make it, then make sure that you make the athletes behind you give everything they possibly can to try to catch you. And don't worry about what's behind you. Focus on what's ahead of you and what you can do. But when you make that move, you have to make sure you're confident that you can sustain that effort and sustain that surge all the way to the finish line. Okay, don't get caught up in the ebbs and flows of training. Okay, you're going to have some bad races. You're going to have some times where you're going to get beat by athletes that maybe aren't as good as you. Okay, again, focus on what you can control and how you're building up your training. Don't worry so much about the times other athletes have run. You can use that, I guess, as a motivation, just to kind of get an idea of the type of competition you're going up against. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what times they've run. It's what you're going to be able to do on the track. So make sure that you're going after fast times. I know some of you are probably trying to break 6 minutes, trying to break 5 minutes. Some of you are trying to maybe go under 4 minutes and 30 seconds. There are athletes out there trying to break 8 minutes for the first time, or maybe 10 minutes. I have created resources on RunDreamAchieve.com, mile training plans all the way up to the 50K distance. If that's something that you're interested in, I really focus on getting the athlete first, focus on aerobic base building first. So we build the fitness, and then start working into race specific training, speed development training, and really working on a 10-day rather than a 3-week taper. So a 10-day taper, dropping your volume and intensity 10 days out from your main race, in this case the mile, is plenty of time. Okay, you don't need to start dropping volume and intensity 21 days out from your main race. Again, a 3-week taper definitely does work. It has worked for several other athletes, thousands if not millions of athletes out there. But I've just seen significant PRs myself and from the athletes that I mentor here online, that have implemented a 10-day taper and have started to see some really legitimate results, dropping massive amounts of time. So I hope this video is helpful for you in terms of how to run a faster mile on the track. Really, in terms of training for the mile, you definitely have to work on speed development versus if you were training for, say, a marathon or a 10-miler or a 10K. Those events still require speed and still require the athlete to really have a great lactate threshold capability and ability to clear lactic acid faster that's building up. But when you're training for races that are highly anaerobic, like the 800 meter, the 1600 meter, 1500 meter, or the full mile, 1609 meters, you definitely have to not neglect your speed. And you also have to make sure that you're focusing on those tempo runs. Getting that tempo run for a mile, you don't necessarily need to do a tempo run that long, but I would focus, if I was training for the 800 meter or the mile, I would focus on getting my tempo run out to around 3 to 4 miles in length. Spend some time training at around 85 to 89% of your max heart rate. Find out what your max heart rate is, whether subtracting your age from 220 or trying to do an all-out 400 meter or 800 meter on the track all out as hard as you possibly can, and then immediately checking your heart rate at the end of that effort. That'll give you an idea of what your max heart rate is. The other option is to get a VO2 max test. A lot of athletes don't have that option, but definitely either just to get a guesstimate, subtract your age from 220, or try to do an all-out 400 on the track or an 800 all-out on the track, and then check your heart rate immediately following that effort. If you have any other questions, and if you're training for the mile, let me know in the comment section below. What is your current personal best for the mile, and what is your long-term goal? Like a 5-year, 10-year time frame from now, what is your goal for the all-out mile? I'd love to hear that from you. And if there's anything else I can help you all out with, feel free to reach out to me. I'll definitely respond back to you. And definitely check out all the resources below all of my videos. And like, share. Hope these videos are helpful to you all. And I wish you all the best, and I'll talk to you in the next one.